There's a lot of buzz now going around about who will be the Orioles' next manager. And look, you wanted them to do a more extensive search on who it could be. Well, there's one that people thought could be in the mix, one that no one really heard of. And then the last one is not one that was in the stratosphere when the Orioles season ended. So, and that's an MLB legend, by the way. So if you're new to this channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show, do this live every Monday and Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern time right here on the channel. So let's dive into this. The Orioles are searching for a new manager in 2026. Could it be interim manager Tony Manzolino, who I still think is a candidate in this situation? But let's run through the names that we've heard that's been linked to Baltimore here just in the last few days. So initially, MLB trade rumors put this out on X that Ryan Flaherty, who had been a hot name, that was an up and comer that people were really interested in, that people believe he's expected to be in the mix for the Orioles and Padres managerial searches. And why the Padres? Well, their manager in 2025, Mike Schilt, just retired. Ryan Flaherty has ties from being out there in San Diego, so he could be linked there, but he could also be linked to Baltimore because of his time with the organization. But more importantly, it's what Ryan Flaherty brings to the game. So Ryan Flaherty being a young guy, and a lot of these general managers or front offices are looking for that next up and comer. So he checks the boxes, right? He's young, he understands the purpose of analytics, but he's a very baseball savvy guy that can connect with the young group. And that kind of sounds like Baltimore, right? Young players, you're trying to get them to the next level. Could this be that spark, having a younger manager come in that could be the next great one? That's what people are hoping if they hire Ryan Flaherty. So then there's Ryan Flaherty here, and then there's the one that kind of came out of left field, where experienced coach, but not on people's radars, and that is Luis Rojas here of the New York Yankees. So Andy Martino up there in New York is reporting that the Orioles have interviewed Yankees third base coach and former Mets manager Luis Rojas for their managerial opening. And if he does not get a managerial job, the Yankees will want him back because he's a highly valued coach. So I always find it funny when I go to look at on X or what other fan bases think of these specific coaches on their team. And so many Yankees fans were dying to get rid of Luis Rojas, which to me, they were saying essentially thought he was the worst third base coach. And I always just, it does make me laugh a little bit because I get it. When you're watching a team in a game, there are going to be people that just really bother the hell out of you. But from what I've heard about Luis Rojas, is this exact sentiment. He is a great baseball guy. And he's the guy that people respect around the league. And so hearing that the Yankees would want him back, yeah, he's a valued member. And a lot of players, I bet, would talk about Luis Rojas in the same manner. But is this a little shocking? Because it doesn't seem like that exact fit for the Orioles. And look, I think if we're looking at a manager that's trying to find their fitting, and yes, you handle the pressure of being with the Yankees, and you had been previously even for the smaller tenure with the Mets. There's a lot of expectations with this Orioles team, and I'm just trying to see the connection there. If we were going to choose between a Tony Manzolino or Luis Rojas, and Tony Manzolino being on the Orioles staff the last X amount of years, building a relationship with these young guys, and that continuity, to me, that value would probably lean in Tony Manzolino's favor over Luis Rojas coming into a situation that I just don't know if that would fit, right? But the Orioles, they're not going to let leave any stone unturned in this scenario, which then leads to the final person that's now being linked to the Orioles, and this one's out of the stratosphere. And again, new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. But that one that's out of the stratosphere, how about MLB legend and future Hall of Famer Albert Pujols? That's right, Alden Gonzalez with Jeff Passan, and this is Alden's tweet earlier. The Orioles have expressed interest in Albert Pujols for their manager vacancy. Sources tell him and Jeff Passan. So recently, there was a report that came out that Albert Pujols wanted to be the manager of the Angels, or was very interested of being their manager out there in Los Angeles. So then all of a sudden, now this report's coming out that the Orioles are very interested in Albert Pujols. So first off, Albert Pujols, does he know how to hit? You're damn right he does. Is he a legend? Absolutely. But I'm trying to see where this is going because I'm not going to say that all reports out there are uh, misguided or misleading because I do believe when there's smoke, there's some sort of fire and there's some sort of truth to it. But I do also know in this industry there are conversations that are had that can help create urgency throughout the baseball world. You see it with players trying to get contracts. You see it when teams leak information to try to then get a buzz. So I don't want to fall into this completely. Not to say that the Orioles don't have interest because they very well might. And if Albert Pujols ends up being the Orioles manager, well, hey, then come back here and I'll say that I was wrong. But I just don't see this as an option. I don't. The first off, the connection. The Angels, he played there for a long period of his career, right? So if you're looking of a place he wanted to initially be, and that's where the initial conversation went, I just feel like this is a leverage move. Number one. Number two, being a great player doesn't necessarily mean you're going to jump in and be a great manager. Now, there are circumstances where a player can go from being a player and then go right to the dugout. Of recent memory, and Pulos has had a little bit of time in between here, but a guy like Stephen Vogt retired and then became the manager of the Guardians, and that worked out tremendously for the Guardians. But one thing that I want to really emphasize here is that the Baltimore Orioles have a lot more pressure and expectation on them with this young team than the Cleveland Guardians did. I mean, hell, when Stephen Vogt took over, they were supposed to just, see where things go, but were they supposed to win the Central in back-to-back years and be where they were? No, I don't think that was on the bingo card when Stephen Vogt was hired or the expectation, right? Emphasis on expectation. So when I look at this, especially with Albert Pujols, the expectation if he comes in is that he's going to guide a young team that needs to get more of the fundamentals back and be better situationally and try to then get the most out of their hitters. And I don't think that's a fair narrative even for Albert Pujols. And keep this in mind, just like I said, the expectation for the Baltimore Orioles is high. The reason why there was so much outrage in 2025 is because they were a playoff team in 2024, won the division in 2023, and had the number one seed in the American League, and they still have a lot of this core there. So the expectation is get back to the postseason, win the AL East, and go further. And I just think that this is a lot of pressure on somebody that I don't know if the Orioles want to jump into that. And if they do, again, I'll be shocked. So time will tell. I think Albert Pujols will be a manager one day. I just don't see that being the manager of the Baltimore Orioles here in 2026. But again, if you are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. I do this live every Monday and Thursday and come on and talk about football, baseball, and everything in between. If you want to be a channel member, click that join button and you'll get exclusive behind the scenes talking with some of these legends. We just dropped one with Jimmy Rollins. So appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the support and talk to you guys soon.